Save me from my enemies. Because the water no get the enemy. Now them go downgrade, now them go criticize, now them go form friendship. Yeah. So many things is up, so many things is up when you don't know. Please don't judge me, and I won't judge. Yeah, welcome to my channel. This is Time Out with Yomi Martins. And it's your guy again, Yomi Martins from the city of Lagos, Nigeria, bringing you hot content as regards entrepreneurship, online platforms, and everything that puts money in that Gucci bag. And if that is exactly what you're looking for, you are in the right station. Now, today's, should I call it tutorial, would be on why you should not depend entirely on due diligence. Because you know, a lot of us YouTubers always give you that caveat, that disclaimer, that you should do your own due diligence. Do your own due diligence. But why am I bringing up this and telling you why you should not depend entirely on due diligence? You will discover why. Please stay tuned with me so that you don't miss any detail. And if you like the content of my video and you always want to be the first to get those hot steaming content, steaming, you understand what I mean? If you want to get those steaming contents, smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, and drop me a comment as regards your thoughts, as regards the video that I've just done today, and how it has impacted you and how it has changed your mentality as well. As I said, or as I always say, don't let me say as I said, as I always say, I'm not your financial advisor, I'm just that dude next door who knows how to give you all the gist, information, education. That's what we are here for. We are not financial advisors. With that out of the way, let's get to the topic of today. I will be looking at due diligence from different angles. I'll be covering the definition of due diligence. I'll be looking at due diligence steps you should take. I'll be looking at two quick case studies, right? So you need to stay with me and enjoy this ride. And I promise you, you are going to learn a lot at the end of this video. So I'll be looking at two case studies. Then I'll be looking at why due diligence may fail, right? Why due diligence may fail. Then what you should do to mitigate risk. That is what I'm going to be ending this with. Now, I've told you what we are going to be covering today. So please, I'm going to try and make it as short as possible. So please stay tuned. Now, Akpos, please get me my dictionary. Hurry up. Okay. Akpos is my PA. Now we shall be looking at very, very old dictionaries at Oxford, right? I bought this dictionary like donkey years ago. So we'll be looking at what is the definition of due diligence. Due diligence is a comprehensive appraisal of a business undertaken by a prospective buyer, especially to establish its assets and liability and evaluate its commercial potential. Listen to me very clearly. Comprehensive appraisal done by a prospective buyer. That is you and I. We are trying to invest in a business. We do a comprehensive appraisal, right? To look at its assets and liability and evaluate its commercial potential. What do I mean by commercial potential? We are looking at how profitable that business will be at the end of the day. This is coming from Oxford Languages, right? Which has over 150 years experience in making dictionaries and all that stuff. Now, we have gotten the definition, right? So that is out of the way. Now, what are the due diligence steps that you normally would take? Let's look at a typical company first. Maybe you are trying to buy a stock or you are trying to buy buy over a company, or you are trying to go into an entrepreneurship, or you are trying to invest in an online platform. We are going to look at all that. Now, what are the things you are going to look at? You are going to look at how many years that company has been in existence. That's if it's not a new company. If it's a new company, you don't need to look at all that, but you look at some other things, right? If it's a new company, you look at the projections, right? Their plan, which we look at most of the time when we are investing in online platforms, right? Now, for real companies, you look at their financials also, their profit and loss, how much they have been making, who are their management. The same thing we look at in platforms that we want to invest in. If you want to invest in a platform right now, you look at who are the people behind them. Now, if it's platforms, let me even concentrate on platforms, right? If it's platform, look at who are the people behind them, who are the top management, who are the investors investing in this particular project. For instance, if somebody is coming up with a new coin or a new exchange and all that stuff, you want to look at who are the people backing them up, right? Let me just drop an example. For instance, Mara Exchange is coming up very soon, and you have people like FXT and some other very big names backing them up. So you want to find out who are the people backing them up, right? Then you also want to find out who are the regulators, right? For instance, you want to invest in a bank, maybe in Nigeria or a platform. You want to find out who are the people backing them up. Is it for an online platform? You want to be looking at whether ASIC in Australia is backing them up, or in the United States or Canada, whether FinTrack is backing them up and all that stuff. If it's a brick and mortar bank, you'll be looking at probably in Nigeria whether CBN must give them a license in the first place. You understand? So you look at who are the regulators, right? Now, you'll also look at signs of it being a Ponzi, whether the rate of returns is unreasonable. The rate of returns might be high, but it might not be unreasonable. For instance, if you are doing arbitrage trading, for instance, the rate of returns might be high, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a Ponzi scheme. So it's a comprehensive appraisal that you do. You do an appraisal of their financials, their plans, their long-term plans, who are the people that are regulating them, who are the management and all that stuff, and so many other, issues that I might not be able to tell you immediately right now. But you all know one funny thing. When you have carried out all those, right, all those checks, you can still fail. You can still fail. You understand? Now, I've handled all the checks that you can do. Now, let me look at a few case studies, brick and mortar case studies, right? So that you understand what I mean by the fact that you can still fail. I'm going to use just one example. A farmer. He wants to establish a farm I'm going to use a Nigerian example, somewhere in Osun State or in Ondo State, for instance, and he buys the land. He has done all the feasibility studies. He has done all his calculation. He knows where he's going to buy his fertilizer. He knows where he's going to buy his sucklings and all that stuff to start off the business. And he starts. He knows his market. He has done all the due diligence, right? But what happens? He starts planting his crops, and all of a sudden, Boko Haram comes in, or some other terrorist groups, herdsmen, and all that stuff coming, and they kill his workers and all that stuff. Would you say he has not done his due diligence? Obviously, he has. Okay, let's even put that aside. Now, imagine a situation in which there is a force majeure. Force majeure is what you call an act of God, right? And there is an heavy rain. It falls, and all his crops are damaged. Will you say he hasn't done his due diligence? Now, let's look at online platforms. right? You have invested in an online platform, you have done all your due diligence and all that stuff, and everything seems right. And all of a sudden, the United States government declares a policy that they are going to stop mining, they are going to stop all cryptocurrency companies, they are even going to shut them down. And before you know what's happening, China starts off, Russia joins them, and everything. These are things that can actually happen. Will you say you have not done your due diligence? Obviously you have. But there are some things beyond our control, even though we have done adequate due diligence. Akpos, do you agree with me? I'm sure Akpos agrees with me. And you also, you obviously agree with me on that there are some things beyond you. Now, let me go right ahead. Let me look at why due diligence may actually fail. I've actually mentioned a couple of them. Number one that I mentioned earlier was force majeure. Force majeure is an act of God, what they call act of God in business. And normally these actually are contained in most contracts in business. The force majeure clause, right? In which they tell you there might be some act of God like an earthquake, fire that is not arson, right? Some countries experience fire that is not actually due to arson. Countries like Australia, even in the United States, sometimes it might not be arson, but they experience fire incidents. Those are acts of God. Earthquake, flood, fire, the list is endless, right? Lightning can actually strike and blow up the building where the company is operating. That's a fact. Those are force majeure, which are beyond your control or my control. And yet you have to go into business. Now, the second is improper due diligence. Who are you giving your due diligence process to? If you are doing due diligence, who is doing it for you? Are you doing it yourself? You can actually do it yourself, but are you competent enough to carry out the process of due diligence? And if you are not competent enough to carry out the process of due diligence, are you engaging an expert who is actually competent to do that? That is another issue, because the reports they give you will determine how credible that due diligence will be or not. Now, there can actually be recklessness of management, which obviously, if the due diligence is carried out properly, you actually know. But how deep can you carry out your due diligence also? There is a particular platform whose name I would not mention right now, that the only reason why they packed up wasn't because of the fact that they weren't doing well. They were doing very, very well. But do you know what happened? The MD developed a drug problem. He was taking cocaine, heroin, and all the rest. And before you know what happened, even though the structure of the business, the online platform was perfect, and the MD developed a drug problem, they started having issues based on his decision. And the company actually crashed, even though the due diligence was done properly, right? Okay, those are the very, very common issues. You can also think of issues that might happen in online platforms and even in brick and mortar business that you want to share with me. You can drop your comment in the comment section of this video. Now, let's go to what you can do to mitigate, you understand, mitigate the problems that might arise in businesses beyond depending on due diligence. Beyond depending on due diligence. Because funny enough, I watched a video some time ago that said life is actually a risk. Being born is a risk. Getting married is a risk. You can marry the wrong wife. Doing business is a risk. You can run away from online platforms and go into entrepreneurship and still fail. A lot of people still fail in brick and mortar businesses. Crossing the road is a risk. There might be a madman who is driving a truck and the person will hit you. And before you know what's happening, you are up in heaven or in hell, as the case may be, depending on the life you live. Although I heard that they are doing some renovations in hell right now. They are putting some ACs, and if you believe me, better don't believe me. They are not doing any renovation in hell right now. Okay, let's go into what you need to do to mitigate risk. Number one, you need to diversify, right? Even the Bible's, the Bible's, as there are so many quotes in the Bible and in the Quran that people should not put all their eggs in one basket, right? I don't want to, it's Sunday, I'm shooting this this video, but I don't want to start quoting Bible passages. But you can go through your Bible or your Quran, and you know that in business and finance, a lot of scriptures have been written on that, and it actually tells you not to put your eggs in one basket. Never do that. Never, ever, ever put your eggs in one basket. Always apportion your risk to different ventures after doing your research. That is number one. Never borrow money if you can avoid it, especially for online platforms. It's not advisable to borrow money to go into online platforms and say you want to invest, right? Now, get your capital back as soon as possible. I'm a big advocate of using house money. I've done a couple of videos on house money. House money simply means after you have put your seed capital, let's say $100, you quickly make your $100 back, right? Then any other money that comes in is what you are playing with. You can be aggressive about that. Now, invest what you can afford to risk, right? If you are worth $100, for instance, and you put all your $100 into a business, I don't think that is wise. It is not wise at all. It is a recipe for failure. So if you have $100, you apportion your risk. Some will be high risk, medium risk, and low risk. That is how to do business. You look at some that are little or no risk, like things like treasury bills or other platforms. If you are looking at online platforms, there are some that are very low risk. For instance, putting your money in Binance flexible savings, for instance, the risk is extremely minimal and the percentage is actually not that bad, because depending, it can fluctuate. You can make as much as 10% APY, that is annualized percentage yield. So that's good enough. Then you find some medium risk also, and you find some high risk also that you invest in. That is how to do it. You apportion the $100 that is your net worth. You can now take out maybe $20 or $30 and say you want to invest, and keep 70 aside and say, I'm not investing that. That is my own money. Now that 30, I'm going to invest it in 10% low risk, 10% medium risk, and 10% high risk. That is how to do it. Now, last but not the least, after you have made your initial capital back, you can decide to compound your house money and withdraw it also intermittently. That is the way to go. Now, I've already shown you, right, in this video, that doing due diligence is not a perfect strategy to winning. And I've also shown you in this video that there are a lot of things beyond your control, because life itself is a big risk. And I've already given you clues on how to mitigate those risks that online platforms and life generally can give you, right? If you enjoy this content and you always want to get fresh content from me anytime I come up with a video, please don't leave this video without smashing the like button. Smash the subscribe button also. Drop me a comment. It helps with the algorithm so that so many other people can get the content and benefit the same way that you may have benefited. I guess I'm pronouncing that right from this video right now. Until I see you again, do have a wonderful day ahead, And welcome again to Time Out with Yomi Martins. Have a pleasant day. Bye-bye.